That's what I'm talking about.
Like, I don't drink.
Why don't you drink?
I don't drink.
Why don't you drink?
I never drink.
I'll tell you some booze at parties.
I never drink.
You're mad backwards.
Khabib, assalamu alaikum, and Conor, congrats on proper 12.
You cannot say salam alaikum and congrats about whiskey.
Start with that. Let's start with, because many people they get that, what we were talking about, that dopamine fix, right? They watch him with the lewd behavior and really getting rowdy and not thinking about, okay, what does this represent? So I want people who have had, let's say, a separation of the family. Many people now skyrocketing, staggering statistics of broken homes due to alcoholism, rapes. It's happening every like 60, 70 seconds, something like that.
Drunk driving.
We're not talking about even what you just mentioned. Basically, they're saying the World Health Organization, estimates that there is one death every 10 seconds due to alcohol. Can you imagine that?
I think what's more important is that, okay, fine, the WHO mentioned the deaths, but what was the recent study that came out? Was it about zero benefit?
Yeah, there's a study.
If you're a drinker, we hate to be the ones to break some sobering news to you, but a major new study says no amount of alcohol is good for your overall health, not even that cheeky glass of red wine you might be holding as we speak on a Friday evening. A survey in the Lancet Medical Journal says the overall risk of liquor outweighs any known benefits. It says alcohol accounted for nearly 1 in 10 deaths in people between the ages of 15 and 49. That data was recorded in 2016. Across all age groups, alcohol was associated with 2.8 million deaths that year.
But before I mention that, okay, so what we're trying to do here is, for someone who's had, because all of these things are in the backbone, because you might not have committed the direct crime, but if you're complicit in it, you're helping to facilitate something that's alcohol, obviously. And this is one of the things, that the major thing that you get when now, because Conor's promoting his brand of alcohol beyond the fight. So now I mentioned rape, I've mentioned what else? Breakups of family, deaths, all of these things. Think of the worst things, and someone in one way or another has been affected. Their family has somehow been touched by alcohol.
My name is Jacqueline Saborido. This is a picture of me before I was hit by a drunk driver, before the car caught fire, before 2 of my friends died, before I needed more than 40 operations. This is me when my life was just like anyone else in college. This is me after being hit by a drunk driver.
I grew up with a friend, and obviously I won't mention his name, but we were in middle school and grade school, and his father was an alcoholic, and I was there on some occasions when the family would have problems and fights, and it definitely had a huge detrimental effect on the family. But what was unfortunate is that the son wound up being an alcoholic as well, right? So just think about it from that perspective.
Copying his father.
So the father was responsible for breaking or damaging the family structure, but now indirectly or directly, the son is following in the footsteps. And I know we're going to talk about this later, but this is why it's even important to talk about social media, like you mentioned, the dopamine release, media in general, and what values are we putting forth through these avenues and means. And the reality is what? You got, our phone is right here, right? All of us got our phones. All of us have instant access. All of us are living on social media and living on the internet. What is it that we are exposed to at a high rate? And we have to draw a parable. Why is it that Conor McGregor's alcohol brand is a co-sponsor? It's because it brings in money. Well, why does it bring in money? Because alcohol sales are important, right? And it's not like they're putting the quotes of very noble and pious men on the ring, or they're putting quotes of the founding fathers of the country, or they're putting quotes of, just scientists or whatever have you. They're putting sponsors on there, and the sponsors are those who can bring the most value or give you the most money. So what is it that we are really pushing down people's throat? And I think that's where we should focus.
Let's go to that study.
Sure.
So the study you're talking about, I believe it was in the Lancet, it talks about that no amount of alcohol is good for the human health. You had this common saying that a glass of wine, alcohol in moderation, this was something that people were commonly known to say, and this would motivate even the person that was kind of like health conscious. Then he would read this in Men's Magazine. But all of this stuff was funded by the alcohol industry.
Right.
So this new study is giving the facts that no amount of alcohol. Not only that, now when we look at, so this is the one thing we're hitting first. We covered a few other points about the lewdness and the disrespect and the behavior. But this is so important because I don't think there's many people that haven't been touched by the direct or somehow indirect consequence of alcoholism, what alcohol brings to the table. And we talked about that one death every second. I mean, this is by who? The World Health Organization talks about there's one death due to alcohol every 10 seconds. There worldwide 3.3 million people die each year. This is more than the combination of AIDS, they say tuberculosis, and violence. Can you imagine that?
It's not surprising.
This is how many people are dying. For many people, they are. This is the first time they're hearing this, but this is just like, can you imagine every 10 seconds? Let me give you some more. Look, they're close to over 40% of the traffic deaths from. Again, now this is the range of the kids that are watching him. Let's say from 16 to 20. Some of the young kids, their minds, their bodies are developing. And now he's promoting the alcohol. And almost 40% of deaths in this range is from this peer group. Let me give you another one. Alcohol is, they say, the third leading cause of death. And now what does it have on the economy? And I'm just giving you some snippets, but when people go down this and they start really looking into it, in 2010, they estimated around $250 billion in America the economy suffered to misuse of alcohol.
Look, I think the summary for all this is what? He is not a role model, right? And we have to bring that into perspective. At the end of the day, he can do whatever he wants, and everyone is judged based on their actions, right? What you reap is what you sow. But the point is, why is it that we are turning to people like him as a role model? So number one, something we have to make clear to the youth is he is not a role model in no shape of the matter, right? We cannot turn to someone like this and say, okay, this is, for example, if I were to do or you were to do what Conor McGregor has done, we'd probably be in jail.
Let's talk about that next. So we brought alcohol to the table.
Right.
Now contrast that to Khabib. Let's bring Khabib into the mix.
Yeah.
He was offered, Conor tried to offer Khabib some alcohol.
Right.
I don't drink.
Why don't you drink?
I don't drink.
Why don't you drink?
I never drink.
I'll tell you some booze at parties.
I never drink.
You're mad backwards.
And then Khabib said, I don't drink, never drank. And this is due to Islam.
And then he called him backwards for that.
And then he called him backwards.
Right.
But then we just debunked that because
Yeah.
you see, I mean, is it backwards because you're trying to save lives? And all these are preventable deaths.
Right.